The first race was held in 1950 to celebrate completion of the Pan American Highway through Mexico. The Carrera soon achieved legendary status as a vigorous test to introduce new production cars and as the arena for European sports cars to take on heavy American metal.
Yeah, the La Carrera Pan America is a very interesting race. It's one that is very historical. It started in the 50s, actually 1950 to 1954 by the Mexican government. They were showcasing the new highway that they had built through Mexico, the Pan America. And they did an unlimited race across, supposedly it was border to border, across the whole country. And of course it was very dangerous. People could show up in whatever they wanted, and people showed up in all kinds of different race cars. And apparently they had fatalities like every year. And that's why the government actually shut it down in 1954. Then in the mid-80s, a group of racers wanted to revive the race, and they did. And so in 1986, I was 16, I just turned 16, and the car I had was actually a 1986 GT Mustang, 5-liter, stick shift. I really loved that car. And we modified it and put it in the La Carrera Pan America in 1986. And it was our first experience there. That was the one where me and my dad saw a lot of the other build cars, what we call sleepers, and really came up with the idea of building Big Red. And we did. And we came back in 1987 for the La Carrera Pan America again, 1987, and this time we had Big Red with us. At the time we were not calling it Big Red, and it was actually a modified 69 Camaro. We got a running 69 Camaro, added roll bars to it, put a bigger engine in it, put a big block engine in it. It did have the Lingenfelder engine, and it was able to go over 200 miles an hour, and it did go over 200 miles an hour. And towards the end of the race, it vibrated the steering heim apart. I lost control of the car and crashed it, fairly big. And it was on the relook back on that race, me and my dad decided that we really needed more of a prepared car, something that was more of a full race car. And it was from there that we went to Bill Osborne and commissioned him to build a chassis, and he did a ground up race chassis that was similar to what the NASCARs would have been at that time, because he was building those cars at the time. And he built one that was custom, a one-off thing to just fit a body of a 69 Camaro. And we came back, so the Mustang in 86, the first car that would be Big Red in 87, and it crashed. Then we came back with the fully new car, fully built chassis, Bill Osborne chassis in 1988, and that was the car that's the same car today, that's Big Red. And it really took the first one to inspire me and my dad to build what became Big Red. It went well over 200 in the, let's call it the new Big Red at this point, and we won the race. And that was when the organizers of the race were like, we really made this race for Ferraris and Lamborghinis, and they were trying to, entice all the really fat, Exotica cars to come down to Mexico, and that was kind of what they wanted. And when the 69 Camaro won, it just didn't fit the narrative. And they actually banned us from the race for being too modified, which was kind of silly because they never banned any car from the race, and anything was allowed, and everything was modified. But my dad, realizing that the race had a lot of risks just because it was being run in Mexico, and also the fact that they threw us out, that really inspired him to start another race. My dad did immediately go out and start the Silver State Classic. And the first year, actually, I just started college. He was a little concerned that not many people would show up, and so he actually showed up on his own in a Corvette. Everyone was asking him about the car, and he told me, he's like, hey, you got to come next year. So in 1990, we went back with Big Red that had won the La Carrera, and we ran the Silver State Classic. I did it with Joe Pettit, who was the editor of Hot Rod Magazine. It was a great race. We averaged over 198 miles an hour over the whole thing, just under 200 miles an hour. Got up to speeds of over 220, and Joe did a great article, Riders on the Storm, and it really got the legend of Big Red going. Running those early races, La Carrera and Silver State, they taught me a lot about mechanics and really preserving your car. I can't tell you in those races how many guys would go out, you looked at all these cars and they had big engines and turbos and superchargers, and a lot of cars you're like, geez, that guy might be faster than me. But most of, in all honesty, would break down before the end of the race. And you realize, you don't win nothing by being the fastest in the first half of the race. You got to finish. And it is something that I really learned about, going fast, but making your equipment last. And that's usually on tracks, it's often the tires. But in this race, it was really the engines. And a lot of these guys had inducted engines, with turbos, twin turbos, superchargers. And everyone was looking to get up to like the maximum speed as fast as they could and just hold it there. And if you really think about it, this race, Silver State, would take a half hour, and La Carrera even took longer. I think it would probably take 45 minutes or even longer. And the engine was just screaming wide open for most of that time. And you got to ask yourself, how many engines will survive that? And sometimes you gotta, on a straightaway in fourth gear, a car that's 555 cubic inch big block, do you run that at 7,200 RPM, 7,400 RPM? How high do you run it? And you may back off the max just to make it live and to get across that finish line. I have gone that fast many other times and in other places. So, when I think back in the La Carrera, could I relive some part of it? What would it be? It wouldn't be actually going fast, because I've had that chance again in that car on other roads, although that was fabulous. But what's the part that I can't relive, that I think back on and I'm like, God, if I could go back, I would really go back to it. And I tell you, it sounds funny, but it was the get together of all the drivers and motorcycle riders the night before the race. And all the guys got down at the bar restaurant down in the lobby and got together and met. And I remember even my dad had said some comment to me. He was like, God, look at this group, because it was just, it was a combination of rough guys, rich guys, racers. It was an odd group. And man, everyone was talking big speeds and going fast, driving fast and taking chances. That was literally what everyone was talking about. And it was a dangerous race too. And it was just one of those things. I wish I could go back and just record or relive the conversations, the people, the cars, because it was really a mix of race cars and stuff, with no rules, rung what you brung, in a way that I never saw to that level again. So I was going through an old box of my old race stuff and came across these gloves. God, are they worn out? And I realized this was probably my first race gloves that I ever owned. And back then, my dad bought me a set of gloves, and I used it in every race until they wore out, and you can see how wore out they got. But it also makes me realize these were the gloves that I used in the La Carrera, and that I used in the Silver State, and that I used in the early races. And it's just kind of funny looking back on, these days, once the gloves even got not even close to this wore out, I would have gotten new ones. But, that was the thing. La Carrera Pan America is probably the most important race in the history of Big Red. It was the reason me and my dad built the car. It was the beginning of my racing career, really, because I wasn't 18 and my dad wanted to go driving anyway, and so we went down to Mexico, and that was the La Carrera. And it was the race where the car first went over 200. And back at that time, going over 200 was a really big deal. And the fact that we did it in a 69 Camaro really meant something. And that was the race that really got Big Red going. And over the years, over the races, at some point it became more. It became more to me and him, and it became more to everyone else. And at what point it crossed that line from just being a car, being a race car, to being a legend, I don't know. But it was an incredible journey.